James Morrow, you can see him in a million places here at Sky News. Read him in the Telegraph as well. Lovely to see a great man. And a man who is equally as visible on Sky News, but doing his bit for the good people of Queensland. Senator from Queensland, now Nationals buddy, none other than Senator Matt Canavan. So, lots to say. But about this, how it started, how it's going, you sent me a good one, Matt. We'll get it up on screen in a moment or two's time. But if that's the case, and everything is as clear as it is, how are you guys not up by 10 points? Not as the Morgan poll would suggest, down by 9.
Well, mate, it's always going to be close. I think the tightening of the polls here is a silver lining there is a silver lining from it for the coalition, for Liberal National parties. It should knock out any hubris. I've been thinking all year that perhaps our biggest hurdle would be the fact that many of our supporters, they're lovely people, great people, seem to think that this is in the bag. It's certainly not. It is very close. It's very tough to win government. It's even tougher to win government off a first-term government. Now, Peter Dutton's done a remarkable job to put the coalition in a position where it is this close. But now we've got to push through to the end. I've always been an advocate too that we shouldn't die wandering on the field, that we should get out there and throw the cutout passes and do our best to score. So, I would also hope that this tightening of the polls gives a bit of steel in the spine of my colleagues, and we get out there and put a really strong alternative to the Australian people, because this government's terrible. It is woeful. It's been a very hard time for so many Australians, and I think we owe it to those people doing it tough to go hard here and put out a clear alternative about how we're going to get rid of the terrible policies that has put this country in the shocking position where the standard of living has dropped by 8%, more than double any other country in the developed world. We should not be this way. With a country with this much resources, this much potential, this much greatness in its own people, we need to find a way of unleashing that potential, that latent potential in the Australian people, by being a much better government than this one.
I love the reference to rugby league. You're representing Queensland better than the local teams did this weekend. All three of them didn't get up, but Matt's out there fighting and talking the rugby league. James, again, the stark reality of the promise being failed. I talked about this in great detail last week. Tony Abbott says, I'll stop the boats. If 3 years later more boats had arrived, what would the reaction be? They say we're going to bring everything down, everything's more expensive. How's Labor even with a shot?
Well, that's the real thing here. And, there's a lot to say about this here. But let's start with the big point of where we are in this campaign. The Libs have done a very good job getting to within striking distance of this thing. Peter Dutton has done an absolutely remarkable job as opposition leader. He has made the right calls on big issues, one of them being nuclear, another one being the voice. That said, here we are, and we're in a position now where everybody says, I think, the policies of this government are woeful. We know that our living standards have gone backwards by something like 8 or 10%. But if you're going to give us a bit of rugby league, permit me, the American, to give a bit of baseball here, right? Okay? So it's like, basically, there is... And there is no shame, I think, for Peter Dutton. Peter Dutton needs to understand there's no shame at all in losing to a first-term incumbent government. But you're never going to win if you don't have a big, hard swing for the fences.
That's it.
And that's where Peter Dutton is right now. And I think, they got spooked when that fringe benefit tax lunch policy got absolutely monstered. Unfairly, by the way, but Agreed. It did get monstered. And we need to see, some real policies around cutting taxes. We've got a piece in the Daily Telegraph tomorrow suggesting maybe, increase of the tax-free threshold for every child you have. Things that are easy to understand. They'll put more money in families' pockets. That's where we need to be.
I say bring back the low to middle income tax offset. That was $1,500, 10 million people.
And cut and end the bracket creep. Well, index the rates.